I know exactly why I don't want to do any more tillage.
Deal.
Because that ground just took longer to dry up. Exactly. It doesn't matter what the stuff looks like.
Yeah.
Sure, it makes you feel better or it makes you feel worse. But what puts dollars in your pocket is what comes off with the combine.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Seeding Equipment Decisions series that Crop Chats on Field Crop News. Here we're talking about the equipment that we use for planting all these crops and what are the things that we need and what are the things that are nice to haves. And most importantly is what's the decision-making process that you go through, every year or every 5 years to decide when and if it's time to make that change. Now, in the case of Nick, you've had the same planters for quite a while, but I want you to think about it, Nick, from the standpoint of, what would need to change that would force you into making a decision to replace some of that equipment, and you carry it for quite a while. Why are you able to carry that equipment for as long as you're able to carry it for? So to start, Nick, I think we'll just have you talk about the farm, who's currently involved in the farm, and the history and journey to no-till at this point.
It's just me, myself, and I on the farm here. Was asked to make presentations to farmer groups about what Middlesex Soil and Crop was doing at the Strathmere Lodge farm. Primarily no-till at the time, doing some comparisons as well. Till there's 2,000 plots and a number of other things. So discussed what we were doing, and after one of those presentations, the farmer got up and says, "Yeah, that no-till's fine on sand, but what about your clay at home?" Well, I guess that's kind of was the put up or shut up moment for me. Do I do as I say or do I do as I do? So I started doing no-till in what, 89 or 90. Went across to Michigan, picked up some Ross and Coulters, and converted the corn planter. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
So let's talk about what crops you have and what seeding equipment is dedicated to those crops.
Okay, so when I first started reduced tillage or no-till, I was using the soil and crop, Middlesex Soil and Crop no-till drill for my wheat and for my soybeans. Found out relatively quickly that soybeans with a drill don't work quite as nice as soybeans in no-till as soybeans with a row unit planted. So and didn't have a no-till corn planter, so ended up buying a corn planter, Case IH pea shooter, and converted it to no-till. Added a coulter bar out front with two Ross and Coulters initially, and then eventually did go to a third one because I was seeing some movement of the row unit over to the fertilizer unit kind of thing. So figured I needed a third one to kind of keep the row unit in line as opposed to having it wander. We were doing Strathmere at the time. Strathmere was sand. We were on clay.
And we'll just mention what Strathmere was.
Strathmere was the demonstration farm that Middlesex Soil and Crop was managing for the county of Middlesex at their seniors retirement home. Middlesex Soil and Crop actually managed that farm for 31 years, and I was fortunate to be the operator manager there. So there were times that we would plant corn at Strathmere. My ground at home wasn't quite ready to plant corn. I probably could be planting beans at Strathmere, but that would mean I'd have to spend half a day changing the planter over. So, well, do we chase the planter over or do we wait? Well, and usually the choice was wait, but we probably lost some opportunity. So in 16, I did buy a dedicated corn planter and then converted the corn bean planter to a dedicated bean planter.
And then you have one, well, you have one other apparatus that you use for planting cover crops.
Oh, the converted highboy. Um, and that was kind of a, I won't say an afterthought, but a second cousin had bought that way back for, I forget now what the purpose was, and had it parked behind his shed for quite a while, and was looking at trying to interseed cereals, or primarily cereal rye, into standing corn. So we put a new motor on it and put a good APV broadcast spinner spreader on it, and have used it a couple of times, sometimes with success and sometimes with less than successful.
When you think about your planters, Nick, how do you, relative to your no-till system and the planters that you have, what would be your decision-making process to decide whether it's time or not? And do you avoid that having to buy a new planter based on the maintenance and such that you do in the off season to keep the current planter fleet up to the spec?
I probably should do more maintenance in the off season, but um, and yeah, you know, maybe you need to take a look at what the color of the hair is as to where I am in my stage of production cycle. Um, I think if the repair bills start getting to be more than I would like, but then if the repair bills have increased significantly, so has a new unit. Um, at one point in time, you could buy a complete double disc for the drill here for 25 or $30. Um, I replaced them, was going to replace them last year, and I called up the dealership and I said I need 19 or no 38 double disc openers complete. He says maybe you better ask the price first. So I said, oh well, what is the price? Oh, he said $90. I said, okay. So what are bearings worth? Well, he was able to get me bearings. Now, granted, I did exercise my arm really well, but because there's 6 rivets in each one of them. And so 38 times 6, I got to be pretty good at it. But it saved me over $1,000. So, and that's the Dutch heritage in me.
Understood.
But no, I'm actually reasonably satisfied with all my pieces of equipment. Um, as far as replacing any of them, yeah, there's some I won't say issues, but there's some things that if I was doing it again, I might tweak.
Okay.
Uh,
And you're not able to tweak it in process. You'd have to go to a new unit.
you might be able to tweak it in the process, but it might not be quite the same.
Okay.
It
So, if you were to buy new planters, is there anything else in the system that you need to be aware of that might change to keep? Because when you buy something new, you want your efficiency to increase, but you potentially could decrease the efficiency in some ways. What are things that might be a consideration?
well, I never mentioned the size of the operation, but it was interesting. I did a presentation for IFAO a year and a half ago, and one of the members in the audience spoke to me afterward and said, it's really nice to see a 4-row planter. So that indicates kind of what size of my farm operation is. So when it comes to other things that are impacted by a planting decision, no, there's really nothing else.
Because for you, you can essentially fill it home every time and these types of things, right?
Fairly close. Even the field that's 3/4 of a mile away. Yeah, I could put the seed and the fertilizer on the pickup and take it over, but then I got to walk back. So I might as well just drive back
Right.
and load up back here.
In your experience in no-till, which includes both the sand soils at the Strathmere farm and here at home with the clays and the silty clays, would you anticipate that you could buy the same planter as a tillage guy in terms of what you need in no-till?
I think I would want a planter that has a little more heft, um, that's able to take a few more stresses, because you're going to have more stresses on those, whether it's the coulters, whether it's just double disc openers, um, simply because you're working with firmer soil.
Mhm.
Yes, depending upon soil type, there may be very little difference. But I think you want a planter that can handle the stress, can put a little bit more down pressure on. Um, so basically, you want a planter that's a little bit tougher.
In terms of the planters that you have and the planters that you would like to have if things changed, is there must-haves that you need to have in a planter? And recognizing that your equipment is smaller relative to a lot of the bigger ones that have more options and stuff on them and more things to keep track of, what are the must-haves that Nick Stockman needs to have on a planter?
Well, let's start with corn planter. And like I bought that one new in 2016. When I went down to Kearney's, I sat down and talked with Stu about what I wanted. And they ended up building it the way I wanted it. So I wanted heavy duty down pressure springs, wanted a row mounted coulter and row cleaner. I gather some people have gone away from the row mounted coulter, and I can see why, because that's a precision planting equipment, and you're also asking it to do a little bit of tillage.
Mhm.
So you're kind of compromising that. I wanted good fertilizer placement. So, give me good single disc fertilizer opener. I wanted both liquid and dry capability, so that, I can do my 2x2.
And you have a layer operation as part of the farm enterprise. And despite the manure in the system, do you still use starter fertilizer all the time?
For a while, I was just using urea for my nitrogen source, because my P and K levels were quite high,
Mhm.
and I didn't really want to add to that. But my K levels have come down because it takes straw off, and my P levels are still quite high. But I want to have both the liquid on the seed and some 2x2 there. And what I was finding with the urea too, like I was aiming for about, you know, 30 pounds of nitrogen there. Um, if that row unit started moving over, then you get seed burning.
Mhm.
And then you start wondering, you got corn plants missing. Yeah, yeah, the roots kind of went, ooh, ooh, ooh. So that's why I went back to, I'm actually looking at the possibility, because, the research is saying, you want, what is it, 50 ppms of nitrogen in the corn row. Well, I'm not near that. I don't want to go with 28 on the planter, because 28 just eats steel. And where do I put it? Do I put it on the tractor and then start running plumbing and everything like that? So I'm actually starting to think of, do I blend some ESN with the starter, say in a 50-50 blend or something like that?
Is there anything that you've seen out there that you've seen others have or that you've seen at shows or online or whatever that would be nice to have that you might consider in the future?
Nice to have features. On my bean planter, there's a few things I would like to, if I was doing a new one, I would, but I'm satisfied with the job it's doing.
Okay. And what would be those nice to have features?
little bit better closing system
Okay.
because the Case IH, and I think you've got pictures later on in the series. The Case IH closing system works extremely well in a tilled system because you're drawing, you know, moist soil back in and stuff like that. You're not, whereas in a no-till system, depending upon the soils that you're working with, it doesn't always draw that soil back in
Mhm.
the way I would like.
Okay.
Um, Now, yeah, you can get a Yetter conversion for that, but once again, I don't have the down pressure springs, so that's why when you look at the picture, you'll see there's a tractor weight on each row unit because there is no seed weight there anymore. When you used to have the or the insecticide boxes there, you could put some weight in there.
Okay, let's take a look at the planters then, and we'll look at the soybean row planter first, and just talk about the unit, and we'll go through the pictures.
Okay, so this is a Case IH 800 that in the mid 90s I got Kearney's to double frame and put a hydro bar on. So it's it was a 4-row-30 corn planter and an 8-row 15 bean planter. It's now a dedicated 8-row 15 bean planter. The way that Kearney's had set them up, there was one short marker and one long marker. So when you were planting corn, um, you had the one long marker, one short marker. And then when you're planting beans, you're just basically driving right in between the corn rows. And it was putting a bean row 7.5 inches away from each corn row on either side. Um, Originally had just two coulters on this planter, put an extra coulter on simply because I was finding that there was getting to be some wander on the row units. The newer Case IHs had the offsets on half the row units one way and the offsets on the other half the other way. Mine are all the same. So then automatically in heavy soil, it was drawing the planter one way. And if that happened to be where the fertilizer row was for the corn, that was going to be a difficulty. So added the extra coulter bar on the front of that, put a third coulter in the front. When I converted it to a bean planter, there's every other row has two coulters in front and one, and then every other row has just one coulter. Not that I need it, but I've got it there, so okay, just fine.
And you talked a little earlier about liquid and dry, so you got the capacity there to do that.
I'm not putting anything on with the beans. I left the boxes on because I can put yeah, 6 bags of soybean seed in those boxes just so that I don't have to run home quite as often. And I left the liquid tanks on there because I could put 50 gallons of water in there, and that when the main bin is empty, like there's 15 bags of soybean seed goes in there. So at 50 pounds, that's a fair bit of weight.
Mhm. Talk about the back end.
Yeah, the extended frame started out with just the two wheels that came regular with it. Found out that was a little bit too much weight there because of where it's positioned. So I ended up getting a second set of wheels on there. And then yeah, because it's a pea shooter, had to kind of replumb it a little bit. As well, it's an older unit, so it doesn't have the heavy duty down pressure spring. So that's why you see the tractor wheel weight on there. Just once again to provide a little bit more stability. Um, I think the feature you're looking at here is that offset on the Case IH row units, which basically makes it so that that seed slot is much narrower. And, I've been quite happy with that. That was actually part of the reason why I bought the Case IH at the time. It was a used unit, and yeah, it was what was available.
And then you talked about the back end was a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, in heavier ground, those closing discs, they're supposed to draw soil in to then to close that slot. Yeah, in heavier soil, at times it doesn't draw in quite as much as I would like.
So now we're switching over to the corn planter.
Yeah, it's the convert Kearney modifications to the uh, a brand new Kinze 3000. One non curvitine and one standard Kinze closing wheel.
And here it is in the bio strips.
And I was quite comfortable doing that.
And the front end of that planter.
That is the LRA single disc fertilizer opener, and it, it it moves it when you're in the cab, and you can see the soil being pushed over. It, and it'll place it deep if you want to place it deep. You just need to make sure that you keep enough liquid in the tanks. Now, granted, where the wheels are, the drive wheels are placed on this planter, there's a lot of transfer of weight from the like uh, the wheels are not near the front, so there's you know the system is all pushing down.
Yep.
This was killed in the fall,
Mhm.
bio strips, and
And when you look at this close, this is what I try and emphasize to people that are not no-tillers. If you look at the place that's seeded, that row that's seeded, it and avoid everything else in sort of in your head, it's very clear that that is as good as most uh, tilled ground in terms of how that's gone into the ground.
exactly, exactly. And that's the ideal situation that that zone around the seat. And I think Peter Johnson has mentioned that uh, Jack McElhargy, his neighbor, that says you want to kind of cuddle that seed in the ground.
Okay, let's look at the drill and talk to us about this unit.
So own this together with second cousin. I did own it with the neighbor that was my custom combiner. 12-foot Great Plains, no-till drill, liquid fertilizer, main main box, and then the grass seed as well. What you're looking at there is we're seeding the bio strips. So I've taken the coulter off the row that we're not utilizing because we're dealing with a 12-foot planter, but we're planting 10 feet. We've offset the drawbar a little bit. We've got two rows on one side we're not utilizing, and we've got one row on the other side we're not utilizing. We tell the auto steer this is a 10-foot drill.
And maybe just for this session, just explain the biostrip till a little bit in terms of how that drill is set up.
That drill is set up with dividers in 3/4 inch plywood dividers in the main box that are dividing that drill up into 2 row sections. So one section is for next year's corn row, and that has one mix of seed. And then the next section is next year's wheel track, which has another mix of seed, and then the same across. And then, of course, the end row is just one row with, when you're coming back, then it's complemented with the other row. So,
Okay, so when you think of the three planters that you have, were there specific game changers that made you buy those units?
the drill, I was not real comfortable with the John Deere concept as far as, just no coulters, because I know a number of people that put the coulter frame on the 750 drill simply because we wanted a little bit of tillage there. So I was looking for a coulter drill, and this suited the Great Plains 1205 suited us for that. Um, the bean planter, well, it was just relegated to bean planter when we bought the corn planter.
And because they're not large units, it was probably increased your efficiency quite a bit not having to switch them over.
Exactly, exactly, and it made it's so much easier to just pull the pin and hook up hydraulic lines than it is to start wrenching and moving coulters.
And you're just not interested in using the drill for soybeans.
Just not getting the placement that you want,
Okay.
especially in the variable soils that I'm dealing with.
If the decision is to upgrade the planter uh, or to buy a new planter, where's the place that you start with that? Like, is it the row unit? Is it the fertilizer? What are the things that most drives you towards a new or an upgraded planter or drill?
I would think it would be the ability to put that seed in the perfect position. So that's probably going to be the row unit. Because you only get one chance to do it.
Yeah. Or
And
you hope you only have one
well, yeah,
go at it.
and that's where, you know, what we talked about in the other session, rotation, soil health, all those things come in.
Are there decisions or planters that you've bought in the past that obviously there was a problem or it wasn't the configuration that you wanted? Just advice to others of things that you might consider avoiding because they're probably not going to get you where you need to be.
I think
Been-
we're like we've talked about, on the corn planter, the separation between the fertilizer unit and the row unit,
Mhm.
and having to tweak that. So, but it depends upon what
True.
soils you're dealing
Yep.
with.
Yep. And how variable they are. And
Yeah,
stuff. Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
So, the advice I would give is, look around, talk to people, see what, go out in the field with them in the springtime, and
Which is hard for guys to do because they're on their
I
but
realize
but
that.
you got to take that time. These decisions are not cheap anymore. Not that they ever were, but they've got quite expensive nowadays. You want to be sure.
Yeah. And so ride the planter, or sit in the buddy seat and see what's going on, and pick the driver's brain, uh, and like, sure, the dealers are very good as far as providing you information, but you know they're also trying to sell a product, and realizing that a lot of the salespeople are really good because they know the positives and the negatives on their piece of equipment.
Mhm.
But there's nothing like actually sitting and talking to a person that's utilized that piece of equipment for a number of years.
And especially on similar dirt to yours.
Exactly, and and maybe it involves actually sitting, saying in the spring, arranging that, hey, I'm not going to go and plant today, or having somebody else do it for you.
Right. So you can take that.
So you can take that time to go and look, and then do a follow up too. See what that stuff looks like later on.
Mhm.
Uh,
Very good point.
because it may look like you're doing a super job, and the monitor in the cab may say that you're 99.9% and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, do you need all the extras? Yeah, that's something that your budget will probably indicate too, and whether your comfort level on those things too.
100%.
Yeah.
So, anything next in terms of Stockman Farms on the planting equipment side of things?
No,
You're satisfied with everything,
as I mentioned earlier, the hair is gray enough that there's
and you've got your concentration on something else capital-wise you're investing in.
well, not only that, but I'm satisfied enough with all the pieces of equipment that I'm not looking to change or upgrade.
Very good. Well, Nick, I want to just say thank you on behalf of those that will watch this series and this episode specifically. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us about your planting equipment. And we appreciate that. And hopefully you're open to people connecting with you if they've got questions. Because again, that's something that we need to remember. There's all kinds of scales of operations out there. And so this series I've tried to set up with small, medium, and large guys looking at different soil types and different equipment. So thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.